Good morning. I don't know if it's morning for you, but that's when I make these videos, morning drive videos. I drive safe, I drive slow. Those of you, the couple of you told me like, don't drive while you're doing that. This is the time that I have to do this. So today's talk is an insight that I had this morning about spirit and soul, and how we really need a new religion. Our old religions aren't cutting it, and atheism doesn't cut it, and yeah. So, soul and spirit, the insights that I had around that this morning. So, how's it going to help you? Wrong glasses. These are the right glasses for driving. So if I'm going to be a good content creator, I have to make all these talks relevant for you and how this would help you. So, the best way I can help you is by sort of outlining how this helped me, and then offer it to you. So once I was clear on the distinction between spirit and soul, something's sliding around really bad back there. Okay, I think it's okay. I'm on my private drive. There's no cars around. Once I got really clear on this distinction between spirit and soul, it really helped me. Really helped my spiritual life. And when I say spiritual life, most people most people have a very interesting view of what spiritual life is. So your spiritual life is how you relate to the greatest mysteries of life. When people say God, what they mean is that which is ultimate, that which is which I don't understand, that which is the most potent and most real force in the universe, whatever that people like to attach intelligence to it, which I think is kind of irrelevant. That's a bit of an anthropomorphization of what God is. Intelligence is what we think of as humans, but anyways, that's all beside the point. If you get the distinction between soul and spirit, and you understand that really well, it can really help you in your personal quest for meaning and purpose and peace. So there's three things I want to talk about today. One is individual soul, like my soul, and then the second is this was the big insight I had this morning, is a soul for a larger context soul, like the soul of humanity or the soul of the earth. And then spirit is the transcendent idea that it's not really embodied. So here's a way to think about it. When you're thinking about spirituality and spirit is the unity. It's the thing that makes us all one, that connects us all, that's beyond masculine and feminine, that's beyond good and evil, that's beyond all of our temporal, physical problems that we have. That's spirit. Soul, on the other hand, it's your individual uniqueness. One of the things I was thinking about this morning in my prayer time is how soul and Father are really connected, that principle. So it's kind of all backwards in these macro cultures right now. So mother is what really should be, I can't say that. Mother's a much bigger concept than soul. I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I don't have that one clarified yet. There's something else there, but Father is a much more of a soul element. Like spirit and Father association is it's a peculiarly primarily Middle Eastern, but in any case, I don't want to talk about that. What I think is really critical is that your soul, your individuality. So a soul is your place. Bill Plotkin talks a lot about that. But your soul is like that. When you have really found your soul, when you a soulful person, or someone who's really embodied, they're like really in their place. It's very individual. Like each soul is different, right? So if you're really in touch with your soul, then you're living out of this soulful place, and you kind of get a sense of it, right? Like, oh, a soul surfer. People used to talk about. So I'm in the surfing world. People used to talk about Rob Machado as a soul surfer. He was a professional surfer of my era in the 90s, and I think 2000s, maybe mostly in the 90s. But in any case, when you're on your path of soul, it's an individual. You're expressing an individuality. So, and then when you're on the path of spirituality, your spirit, you're expressing a oneness. So you're transcending your individuality. And so here's kind of the thing that I think most people get wrong in their spiritual pursuits. You can't just do one or the other. You don't get to just go out and focus on transcendence, where you're one with everything. We've all met people like that who are like, oh, I'm just one with the universe, and they're just completely annoying because they're not connected to their soul. There's an individuality that's an expression of their individual matter, earth, human-based life. That is like the counterpoint, the yin and the yang. So the spirit is one side of the equation and the soul is the other. And if you're all locked up in the spirit side, then you're missing the soul side. Now, if you're all in the soul side, and there's a dark side to that. We think of soul as a totally only good thing, but that's not really. I don't think that's the way it works. Like if you're just in touch with your uniqueness, your individuality, your separateness. So that's the thing about soul. It's like separate. It's different. It's your distinctness. This is kind of what I'm fighting against in modern culture right now. There's this inflection on difference right now, especially in America. People are really focusing on differences, the difference between men and women, the difference between conservatives and Republicans, all these differences. So if you get sucked into the conversation about differences only, then you miss the oneness. Like communism, capitalism, that's more of a oneness versus an individuality idea. So both of them are don't work if they're not in perfect harmony with one another. So in your own personal life, you need to be simultaneously developing the depths of your soul, which is your unique place in the world, and your connection to the oneness of everything. The oneness, you as a member of the human species. So your oneness with all humans. And, you can start with the simple stuff, though. Your oneness with your tribe, your oneness with your nation. Then move on to the oneness of your humanity. Then move on to the oneness with the earth. Now, here's the unique thing. So your humanity and the oneness of humanity, that is also, it's not quite spirit, it's soul. It's soul of humanity. So I'm sure you've heard the saying where someone's like, the bad guy in the movie, Darth Vader, let's just use Star Wars, Darth Vader, he gets disconnected from his humanity and it becomes part of the Empire machine, right? And so he's stuck in the power dynamic thinking that order, Star Wars is a very great movie for us all to pay attention to right now. Order, structure, empire, wealth building, it's keeping all the machine running. That is what he puts himself into. So he's lost his touch with humanity and sort of tapped and connected to a force that's outside of his oneness, outside of the soul of humanity. So you can be in touch with your individual soul. I would say, in a way, Darth Vader is operating out of his individual soul. He's very in tune with his uniqueness, but he's lost connection with his human soul. the soul that connects him to all humanity. So that's like the next level of where I think religions get it right. The religions get it right when they talk about the oneness of all humanity. What the fuck, dude? Excuse me. That guy was driving on the wrong side of the road with a giant trailer. Like, just not okay. We're all one, but then again, like, I'm tapping into my soul. Like, my individual soul says, don't run into me. So you have your individual soul and you want to find your place. Then you have your human soul. So, I mean, I don't know if I could really say that Darth Vader was operating out of his soul, but in a sense, he tapped into his uniqueness, his individuality. But his soul was actually more appropriately connected to his fatherhood. You know, being Luke and Leia's father was more of his true soul. He was kind of tapped into sort of a false sense of soul. That's a really interesting idea. I think many people run through life with a false sense of soulfulness, where they attach their identity to something and they think it's their sole purpose, but it's really off track. So I think that the way you can tap back into your true soul purpose is you have to connect to your individual soul, and then that has to be, you have to acknowledge your human soulness. So there's a part of you that is the same as every other human on the planet, and that is critical to be in touch with, that you and every other human on the planet are of the same soul. You're of the human soul. So that is, it's kind of in between the complete individual uniqueness of soul and then the spiritual oneness of everything. So I still think it's important to think about it as the soul of humanity, because it's not spirit, it's not everything, it's not God, but it is a soul, it is a oneness. So you got to connect with that oneness that is your humanness. And again, I can't make a video without talking about Donald Trump. If you're splitting humanity into different tribes and you're focusing on these different tribal elements, which is natural for us to do, that's not it. It's not a soulful life. It's ultimately not where we want to be coming from as a enlightened human species, or as a enlightened human being. We have to find where we connect to our humanness by having a reverence, a respect for, and seeking to understand all humans, everybody. If you're conservative, seeking to understand Republicans. If you're conservative, seeking to understand liberals. If you're Republican, seeking to understand Democrats, and vice versa. So that's level 2. So first level is individual soulness. And I would say another way to think about that is, even in this individual body that I'm in, I'm only 50% human cells and 50% biome cells in my body and on my body. 50% of my cells are non-human, and I cannot live without those cells. I don't know if you guys ever remember that movie, The Bubble Boy. The Bubble Boy, I think it was John Travolta, I'm not sure, back in the 80s or whatever. And he had to live in a bubble because his immune system was thrashed, and there wasn't any proper biome development. People without proper functioning biomes, micro biomes in and around the body, you can't live. You're totally screwed up. So even on an individual soul level, you're still a community. You're still a community of cells, and those cells have evolved over 4.3 billion years. And they're a network of, if you think about how cells came together, how entities evolved on Earth, it was like one cell connecting with another cell, connecting with another cell, connecting with another cell. And that's how life formed. It was this cooperative endeavor between different cells, like different beings came together and merged and became one being. People don't think about that, but that's the true essence. If you go back, talk about first principles. All the technotypes love to talk about first principles. Let's talk about biological and spiritual and mythic first principles. You are first entities that connect with one another. So even on your individual soul level, you can't separate out your connection to all other things. That's still there. You just have to find your unique place, the way you soulfully walk through the interconnected world around you. And one of the ways to do that most effectively is to honor the collective entity of not just cells, but all the inputs that come into your body, the air, the water, the food, especially the food, the toxins or the lack of toxins, all of that stuff is you. And your place in the world is connected to all that stuff. There's the great saying that, when a man destroys the secret corners of the forest, when he destroys nature, he destroys himself. And that's entirely true. Like, you are nature. It's just, gosh, I hope you're on board with this. And if you're not, I hope you reconsider your ideas, because it's not that we come from nature. I hear that so often. We are nature. We are the earth. So that's the next level. So the next level of consciousness, the next level of soul embodiment is I embody my individual soul. I recognize my individual consciousness, and I learn to walk in the world. I have a place in the world that lights up my energy. So something inside of me gets lit up. That's another awesome way to think about it. And then secondly, I see the other beings around me, the other humanists, and I connect with the other humans, and I let that part of me light up. And that's the Jesus idea of the heart-centered living. When you start finding your connection to other human beings, and that is what's the best thing about Middle Eastern religions, is when they connect more with all the other souls that are out there, when they find the oneness with all humans. That's really a great thing. It's sad the way they have different names for the same God, and then they have to try to kill each other. That's ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. It's just the nature of cultural tribalism. But the power and the benefit of those Middle Eastern ideas is this idea of embracing your brother, embracing the other humans as being one with you. But the next level, which is not embedded in the Middle Eastern traditions and is more in animist traditions, is that you have to embrace your oneness with all life. So that there is something that I would like to call the soul of the earth. And the soul of the earth is you are embedded in the soul of the earth. So in order to live a full, embodied, vibrant, in order for the world to be an embodied, vibrant, vital, alive place, the dominant culture needs to shift to one in which we practice on Sundays and every other day of the week our earth embodied soul nature. We see and we practice it, and we start building cultural ideas around that. Right now, we build cultural ideas around something else that creates a separation from nature. And that is the root of all, in my opinion, of all ecological destruction. Techno fixes are not going to help. It's just not. So to review, first you find that soul, and not first, the order doesn't matter, but there are three levels. The individual, enlivened, embodied part of you, your consciousness, your unique point of perception, your unique point of choosing whether you're going to wave at the camera or not. Then it's your humanness, like how connecting with that heart space in which you find a care, a love, and a compassion for all other humans, regardless of their political affiliation, national origin. Fuck. So ridiculous, man. When are we gonna grow up? Anyways, I don't know when we're gonna grow up. I hope we do. Spiritually grow up is what I mean. Become modern. Modern humans need to evolve into a place where they see all other humans as equal brothers and sisters. not try to just protect my individual wealth or my family's wealth or my country's wealth. Like everybody else doesn't matter. I mean, you got to do that a little bit, but I mean, you got to do that, but it's a false choice. It's not like either or. It's not like I take care of me and mine or I take care of everybody. Like there are some trade-offs, but it can all be done. So then the next level, hopefully I'm staying on point here. I'm doing my best, trying to be more focused. I know it's not, but trying. The next point is in getting to connect with your earth soul. So you are an earth soul. You're a point of consciousness that has an individual uniqueness, a place in civilization and in the earth and in humanity, and in that human place, like connecting with all that, and finding your place in the human tribe, and then finding your place in the earth tribe. Well, that's a really interesting way to think about it. So you have a unique place where you belong in the tribe of earth beings. Inside of that tribe of earth beings, there's a place that you embody better than anybody else. And the way I like to think about it is that we all have the choice, like we can be a force for aliveness. And that's, for me, that's kind of like the idea. The basic idea is that cool, awesome. My mission is to promote aliveness for everyone and for the planet as a whole. That's basically my mission. So I'm, in my own way, I'm making choices that are consistent with that. So if you're on the quest continually, and it'll evolve and change over time, to find out what is your place in the larger community of life, like where do you sit best in the larger community of life that taps into your individual soul, that makes you feel alive in your body, and also taps into the human soul, makes you feel alive in the community of humans, and taps into your earth soul, makes you feel alive inside of the community of life itself. So if you do all those things, you're gonna be one of my heroes, and a lot of other people's heroes too. You're gonna be one of the heroes. And then, inside of that, this idea of spirit. So connect with spirit, and this idea of connect with spirit, God, the great mystery of everything that is, ever was, and ever will be. Connect with that through those layers. That's the thing. You don't get to just go straight to the end game. You got to go first. That's why in the soul work, they go down into the dark cave to figure out what's deep inside their soul. So you go down into the cave and figure out what's in your soul, your unique soul. And then you go down in there and you figure out what is that, how do you fit in the human tribe? And then you go down in there and you figure out how do you fit in the earthling, the earth being tribe. And then you take that knowledge and wisdom of those places, and then you take that on your quest to connect with the oneness of all things. If you don't do it in that order, you become an obnoxious or over-righteous, overconfident, dogmatic, religious fundamentalist who blows people up, or whatever they do. Everybody has their own form of religious dogma. So don't be religiously dogmatic. It's so destructive. Don't be politically dogmatic. Just don't be dogmatic. Just try to fight righteousness. Righteousness is so seductive. It makes you feel so good inside. And while you kill the world, you feel so good inside because your righteousness is fed. Fight that. Fight the righteousness. Find soulful living. Oh, yeah. Spread the word.